It's hard to believe Godsmack has been around as long as they have been. And if you're not sure how long they've been around and are curious and don't feel like looking it up, don't worry. Within the first track of this album, they're going to tell you. They have been one of the most consistent commercial hard rock bands over the past nearly 2 decades, since their first album came out in 1998. Ah, I spoiled it for you. Now, Godsmack fans will find this album easily recognizable. It definitely has their signature sound all over it. This band is not one that's really toyed with its sound all that much. So there won't be anything off putting here. They're not doing a Megadeth Risk or a Metallica Reload or a Queensryche anything after Promised Land here. They're sticking with their tried and true sound. Now, one thing that is kind of interesting about this album is that it seems to incorporate ideas from each of their past 5 albums, and I think that's pretty cool. It almost comes across as a celebration or anniversary album of sorts. The production is pretty decent on this album, as you would expect from any Godsmack album. Though I have to say, the songwriting on here seems a little weaker than on most Godsmack albums. It's still okay, and I think most Godsmack fans will be pleased if they haven't heard RA, and they probably have. But I don't know. For me, this album doesn't really do it for me like the first 4 albums did. The album kicks off with the title track, 1000 Horsepower. And I have to say, every time I see this title, I keep thinking 1080p. I don't know why. I have a visual impairment, so whenever I see that, I just think 1080p for some reason. I don't know. The song itself is alright, I guess, but I don't really like those I Remember When type songs where the band sort of goes over their entire history up to that point. I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. This song just kind of seemed weak. The next track, FML, I actually do kind of enjoy this one. It's kind of a slower paced rocker, but it's got a good melody to it, and I don't know, it's pure Godsmack. One of the highlights on this album is the next track, Something Different, which is almost like Godsmack going alternative rock. I guess kind of soft alternative rock, I guess you could say. It's, well, soft for them. I really enjoy this song. I feel like the melodies are a little bit different for Sully, and I feel like this one just kind of brings something new that they haven't really done before. It may be their attempt at a single radio hit, but I don't know. I really like it. It's kind of poppy in a way, I guess, but I don't know. It's good. I like it. Generation Day is the 5th track, and I've got to say, this one definitely has a lot of strengths going for it. It's got a nice pace to it. It's got a nice melody. It's got a nice beat. Overall, it is a really, really good song, and definitely could be one of the highlights of this album. A problem for me with this album comes in the instrumental break. I know a lot of people are really impressed with this, but I don't really get that. During the instrumental break, they go off onto this tangent where it starts with this acoustic guitar riff, which is actually pretty cool. And they have an electric guitar going on in the background, doing with this kind of what sounds like a volume pedal effect or something. And again, it's pretty cool for a short period of time. The problem with this section of the song is that the same acoustic guitar riff is played throughout the entire thing. Nothing changes, and it's pretty much variations of that guitar with the volume pedal effect and not really doing anything cool with it. And it just basically goes on way too long. Finally, towards the end, they add a little guitar lick in there as well, but even that section of it goes on way too long. To me, this is a section of the song that should have been shortened a lot or expanded on, and really they should have thrown a bunch of new things in there or just put a guitar solo over it or something, because this just drags the song out longer than it should be given how little is actually going on there. But overall, I do really enjoy the song. And then Locked and Loaded comes in, and sadly, this is one of the catchier songs on the album. It's your basic rocker. Sully is pissed off at somebody. I have heard people say that this has to do with him being pissed off with Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, and I don't know. I don't know anything about that story, so I can't say either way, but it comes across very juvenile to me at this point in his career. I mean, if he's really this pissed off with people, maybe he should consider the fact that maybe he's the problem, not these other people. I don't know. It just, to repeat myself, it comes off as very juvenile. I mean, it's got some cool riffs in it, cool drumming, and like I said, the melody is actually not bad, but I don't know. Something about the song just bugs me. The next couple songs being Living in the Gray and I Don't Belong, I actually really enjoy these songs. There's not really a whole lot to talk about with them, but I do find them as, very solid extra tracks on an album. Not really songs worthy of highlight material, but I do really enjoy them. And the album closes with something that can be fairly typical for Godsmack, a song with a bit of tribal influence in Turning to Stone. And this one might be one of their better songs of this style. I have to admit, I was never really a big fan of Voodoo. I think the basic idea behind the song was actually okay, and I did like the tribal aspect of that song, but I don't know that I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't enough going on in that song, but this one I do actually really enjoy. I think it was a very solid choice for a closer. So overall, if you're a Godsmack fan and haven't heard this album yet, you should definitely check it out. It's definitely worth your time. It's an okay album. I feel like the hooks just really aren't there on this album like they have been in past albums. But it's still a decent album and definitely worth your time. As I said, Godsmack is definitely one of the more consistent hard rock bands to come out over the last decade or two. And this one will not disappoint. I'm going to go ahead and give it a. God, what should I give this? I'm going to be nice and give it a 70 out of 100. I actually do quite enjoy most of this album. There are a couple songs I didn't mention because, to be honest, I don't remember them. And I know they didn't really do a whole lot for me. But overall, if you're a fan of this band, you should definitely check this album out if you haven't already, and you probably have. It's definitely worth your time.